Hey everyone, Theo here. Patch 10.3 just dropped on August 26th and it's a massive update. We got a brand new hero DLC, an all new campaign and survival map, a fresh challenge map, plus new weapons, accessories, pets, tavern themes, skins, hidden secrets, and on top of all that, a mountain of balance changes. There's so much packed into this update that KOD actually had to put together 20 pages of notes just for this video. My goal is to break it all down into a clear overview, what changed, and more importantly, what those changes mean for you. Now, you may have seen several patch releases that have been made since the initial release. Don't worry, those adjustments don't change the general overview I'll be covering here, so everything in this video is still up to date. And before we jump in, I want to make a quick shout out to KOD and Cayman for putting together all of the information you'll see today. I couldn't have done it without them. Let's kick things off with the brand new hero, the Warden. The Warden brings some seriously powerful defenses, with the Wisp Den and the Shroom Pit standing out as the stars. The Wisp Den has a full 360 targeting with line of sight and deals massive damage, making it an excellent ogre killer. The Shroom Pit also dishes out decent damage, but its real strength is debuffing enemies. When enemies trigger it, they leave behind a pool of mushrooms that weakens everything passing through. Combined with LTs or the Wisp Den, this setup can practically wipe out mobs right at their spawns. The Cloud Tower is another strong option. It chains attacks up to 5 enemies and deals incredible damage. If a monster wanders too close, it and 4 of its friends are going down. As for the Angry Blossom and the Sludge Launcher, it's still too early to pin down their best uses. We'll need more time in the wild to see exactly how they fit into different strategies. Now let's talk about how to gear the Warden. If you're going for a more traditional builder Warden, think of it like gearing a builder apprentice. You're going to focus on tower damage, rate, range, with some tower health sprinkled in. The Spear of Hearts and the Mischief Maker will be the weapons you'll want for her, and you'll want to pair her with any of your standard builder pets. If you're looking to take a more active approach, consider going the Resistance builder route. The core focus is still on tower damage, rate, range, with some health, but this time we will also invest points into resistances. For the gear, we're going to want to use the Madness Boulder Thrower, and we're going to pair that Madness Boulder Thrower with a Builder Genie. The reasons we're doing this is that we want to maintain and gather mana throughout the wave to keep feeding the Wrath ability, and the Wrath ability grants a 35% defense bonus. So, you're going to have a 35% defense bonus with the Wrath ability active. You'll have your Tower Boost Monk also boosting your towers, and because the Builder is out, you're also going to get that Builder bonus, which is another 30%. This is going to massively, improve your tower damage and effectiveness in waves. Another strategy that you could also use is, instead of going with the Madness Boulder Thrower and Builder Genie, is to get a Builder Ginlet. And this is a pet that can attack and will get mana from what they're attacking. So then you don't actually have to have a Madness Boulder Thrower as your weapon, and you can go for the move speed weapons like the Mischief Maker and the Spear of Hearts. But what about a DPS Warden? Well, she's got a lot going for her there too. In fact, she plays like a more versatile Hermit. Her pet scaling is the same as the Monk's, which is the best in the game. Her Wrath ability boosts stats by 10% while active, and also adds 50% of your base damage as fire damage to your pet's attacks. On top of that, her Forest Protection ability will shield you and your allies while also healing them. Both abilities are incredibly strong, though it's still a little early to say exactly where she'll land in the DPS meta, but as of now, she seems pretty strong. If you want to build your Warden for DPS, you're going to gear her like you would a Hermit. You're going to prioritize hero damage, ability 1, ability 2, and health. Your pet choice will depend on the situation, but the best options are the same ones a DPS monk would use. And for weapons, stick with monk weapons that have good spread and strong damage. Alright, now that we've covered the new hero, let's move on to the new maps, starting with Tinker's Workshop. This map is going to be one of the most heavily farmed in the game. Every single weapon and pet that drops here is worth picking up, so it's going to be a grind spot for a lot of players. One important detail to note, mobs on this map come with lightning tower resistance, which means you'll likely need to adjust your builds and experiment with setups that don't rely so heavily on apprentices. So yeah, it feels like a lot of the weapons from this map are pretty good, but it's still a little early to say exactly where each weapon will fit into the meta. Let's talk about the 3 pets that the survival map drops. The first pet is the EV Guardian, which drops on wave 25. The EV Guardian works like the Jester Guardian, boosting ability 1 and 2 for both you and your allies. The next pet is the Robo Chicken, and it drops on wave 30. The Robo Chicken is the strongest assault pet in the game outside of Mr. Cracker's event pet. The last pet is the Airplane, and it drops on wave 35. As of now, the Airplane looks like a solid, high damage, single target ranged option that could definitely see play. So yeah, this map really has it all. Great weapons, top tier pets, and even accessories that come with the cosmetic set bonus. The catch? It's not exactly an easy farm. But as builds get refined and strategies become more efficient, I'm sure the grind will get smoother, and when that happens, you can expect me to cover it in a future video. Next up, let's talk about Workshop Assault. This map will be a very popular spot for farming armor. If you're chasing the absolute highest quality armor, True Boss Rush is still the best bet, but Workshop Assault will be a close second. On average, you can expect to see a ++ armor drop about every 2 hours while running it on Nightmare or Ruthless. On top of that, completing Workshop Assault rewards you with a unique blade, which definitely has some potential uses depending on your build. So overall, this map is essentially the second best active armor farm in the game, and for many players, it's going to be a solid alternative grind spot. On top of the new hero and maps, we're also getting 2 brand new Tavern Themes. To unlock the Tropical Tavern, you'll need to complete Tropics of Etheria on Nightmare difficulty, and to unlock the Workshop Tavern, you'll need to have beaten Workshop Assault on Nightmare difficulty. Simple requirements, but definitely worth it if you want to freshen up your tavern's look. We've also got 2 new hero skins to unlock. First up is the Countess skin, which you can get in the Halloween Tavern. This one is purely cosmetic, it won't change any of her stats, but it is a great way to switch up her look. Next is the EV 1.85 skin. It's unlocked by completing a secret in the Workshop Tavern and the Tinker's Workshop campaign. Stat-wise, it gives the same hero damage boost as the EV 1.75 skin, but trades some hero health for increased speed. So for all you DPS EV beamers, this is definitely a skin you'll want to grab. I'll be making videos on how to unlock both of these skins in the future. For now, I've been asked not to spoil the secrets until players discover them on their own. Expect guides once the community has cracked them. Now let's dive into the mountain of balance changes in this patch. I won't be covering every single detail here, but I'll give you the big picture of what's changed. If you want to see the full list, definitely check out the patch notes, they're massive. First up, we're going to dive into the latest hero balance changes. First up, the Squire. His circular slice cooldown was increased by 1 second, and a number of Squire weapons have been adjusted. So what does this mean in practice? Despite the tweaks, the Spin Squire remains the strongest solo character. He still dishes out more DPS than the Apprentice while boasting a massive health pool and a full second of invulnerability during his spin. Even with the longer cooldown and reduced damage on the faster swing swords, he's still a powerhouse. Next, the Gun Witch. Both Witch's Curse and Icy Needle took some nerfs. Is she still worth running? Absolutely. She's just a little less overpowered than before. Moving on to the Hermit. His damage took a hit, but honestly, it doesn't diminish his overall usefulness at all. And finally, the Summoner. His summoning speed has been increased, meaning you can now get your minions into battle faster. The best part? This buff applies to Forest Golems, letting you bring them in more quickly and making this change especially exciting. Let's move on to tower balance changes, starting with the Squire. The Harpoon and Bowling Ball towers both received huge buffs thanks to projectile speed changes. The Spike Blockade now has the same aggro as a forest golem. But here's the thing, at the end of the day, Squire Towers just don't justify the time spent swapping to the character once you've got access to the Warden or Hermit. Also, even with the Spike Blockade's aggro adjustments, it's still not worth using, mainly because of Ogre Minion changes that I will detail next. So despite these buffs, Squire builds aren't likely to make a real comeback. For the Summoner, reducing the cost to 500 and increasing the aggro of the Ogre Minion to match that of the Forest Ogre is a fantastic change. This can effectively save you 8 DU in a build, which means you can squeeze in another Wisp Den, LT or DST and still get strong Golem level aggro. That's a very welcome change. For the Apprentice, the Fireball Tower got a projectile speed boost, but honestly, that's not going to be enough to bring it back into regular builds. Alright, let's move on to the map balance changes included in this patch. There are quite a few adjustments across multiple maps, but I want to focus on 3 of the biggest ones. The first big change is to True Boss Rush. 4 armor drop slots have been removed from the map. What does this mean? Simply put, you'll see less armor per run, and that translates into significantly more time needed to find a ++ drop. In fact, on average, this almost doubles the time it takes to farm a ++, which is a huge deal. It's possible some of these armor slots might be re-added in the future, but for now, that's a major slowdown. Next up, Pure Strategy received some buffs. Tower boosting is now stronger, and you'll also get an extra tower without paying the increased DU cost. For those unfamiliar, in Pure Strategy, the more of the same tower you build, the higher the DU cost becomes, which prevents tower spamming and pushes you to mix things up. On top of that, Pure Strategy runs drop only armor, so you don't need to run just summoners to guarantee armor drops. With tower boosting more effective, maps like Royal Gardens and Pure Strategy may now become the go-to armor farming methods for many players. And finally, the Love Machine update. This map now drops a one-time, per-account reward, the Love Machine Magicite. You'll unlock it by reaching a specific wave, which scales with your party size. As of this recording, the requirements are Wave 17 for solo players, Wave 20 for 2 players, Wave 23 for 3 players, Wave 26 for 4 players, and Wave 29 for 5 or 6 players. These numbers have already changed several times and may continue to change in the future. Make no mistake, this is a challenging map, but the reward is absolutely worth chasing, especially if you want a builder pet with 800 in every stat. Next up, let's talk weapon balance changes. And wow, there are a lot of them. I'm not going to break down every single one since you can read the full patch note yourself, but I'll give an overview of what these changes mean for each weapon type and highlight some standouts. First, we're going to start with Apprentice weapons. 24 Apprentice weapons were either buffed or had their projectile spreads adjusted. Why does this matter? Well, and I don't have video evidence of this, so I apologize, but take the Classics Eagle Crested Standard as an example. Before, its spread was wide and flat, which meant most projectiles would miss the target, leading to a much lower damage output. That's why tight spread weapons like the Emerald Staff or the Crystal Cane dominated DPS because every projectile landed. With this update, spreads have been improved, making many previously underwhelming staves now viable DPS options. Moving on to Monk, Hermit, and Warden weapons, 26 of these weapons were either buffed or had spreads adjusted, giving players more viable farming options. For builders, the Mischief Maker remains the top pick, with the Spear of Hearts, the Dragon Halberd, and the Returnia Monk weapons following closely behind. For DPS Monk and Wardens, the Mischief Maker and the Dragon Halberd are still favored thanks to their strong stats and move speed bonus. A standout here is Junbao's Sunkissed Saber from Morago. It matches the Mischief Maker and Dragon Halberd in damage, has the best spread of any ranged weapon, but farming Morago is really the question. If you're willing, it's an excellent grab. Other notable options include the Lumerian Halberd from Aquanos and the Jade Spear from CR2. For the DPS Hermit, the Eternian Spear still remains on top, followed by the Dragon Halberd and the Emerald Halberd in second place, and the Tinker's Perfection, Monk Wrench, and Clockwork Spear making up the third tier. For Squire weapons, 39 weapons were buffed, the most of any class. The Calamity Blade is still the clear best in slot for assault maps. Its stats are insane, and farming it is relatively easy. So, the only reason to farm something else is if you want movement speed. In that case, the Sword of Embers is your alternative. For Barbarians, the Crystal Blade is now a strong Glacier's Demise alternative. While most drops will be weaker than Glacier, it can spawn at a similar size with better stats. Other good Barbarian options are in order: the Heretic, Diamond-Tipped Carver, Slash and Burn, Aquian Cogmaul, the Cog Sword, Bone Cutty, Demon Sword, Xiphos Blade, and the Constellation Sword. Lots of variety here. For Spin Squires, Honey Sword and Fish are still your go-to weapons. The Bloodletting Blade, Kraken Fang, and Sandstone Sledge are other strong contenders. Lastly, we get to Huntress weapons. 28 Huntress weapons were buffed. Even so, the Forest Rifle and the Frozen Rifle remain the best DPS options for the Piercing Shot Huntress setups. For the Gun Witch, the Minigun and Witch's Broom still remain supreme, but solid second-tier options include the Crystal Gun, Samuel the Flayer, Pressurized Energy Core, the Gartner Eternian Energy Cannon, and the Critical Strike. Finally, let's talk about pets. 15 pets received changes in this update. However, when it comes to DPS pet meta, nothing has really shifted. The top picks remain the same. Still, it's worth skimming the patch notes to see if your favorite companion picked up a buff. Alright, let's wrap things up. The Warden is shaping up to be a very strong hero. Expect to see them in many builds and becoming part of the meta pretty quickly. Tinkerer's Workshop and Workshop Assault are now must-farm maps, while maps like Crystalline Dimension, CR4, Aquanus, and Sky City all benefited significantly from weapon buffs. Looking ahead, after DPS maps, pure strategy may even become the go-to method for farming armor. As for weapon balance changes, here's the big picture. Every weapon class now has a clear best in slot, a solid secondary tier of weapons that perform similarly in damage, and a third tier that's pretty serviceable. This means more farming options, more flexibility for different playstyles, and far fewer restrictions on what weapons you have to have. The one possible drawback, with so many weapons now tuned closer together, some players may feel there's less uniqueness between them, with cosmetics being the main distinguishing factor. And that's everything. That is everything I wanted to cover in this video. A huge thanks to KOD and Cayman for compiling the data that made this breakdown possible. Thanks everyone for watching, and as always, happy farming.